Alright, so I've talked about the top 10 best movies of 2018. Now it's time to talk about the top 10 worst movies of 2018. As before with my best list, and as always, I haven't seen every movie that came out this year. I mean, that would just be exhausting, but there were a lot of shit movies I just skipped out on. I was like, life's too short, I'd rather be doing something else. And I'm pretty sure 2018 has given me, or will give me, more chances. A lot of shit movies that came out in 2018, I swear. I could have made a top 15 list. And also keep in mind, when I list the movies off, I'm not going to give reviews of the movies. Brief synopsis as to what I thought about them, but the reviews can be found here on YouTube. I've reviewed them all, you can go check them out. And keep in mind, this is my opinion, it's not written in stone, you're gonna have a differing opinion than mine, blah, blah, blah. We know how opinions work. So keep that in mind if there's a movie you think should be on here that's not on here. What do you think about this year? There were a bunch of bad movies, but usually I have a lot of movies I just hate. It's clear. It's like, yeah, these are the ones that are on the top 10 worst. There are a few movies on this list that I'm like, yes, from the get-go, totally gonna be on the list. There were a lot of movies though, I was like, I don't even hate them. I don't like them. Or they're bad, but they're just kind of forgettable. But they made the list because there were a lot of those. I don't know. Of the terrible, of the forgettable, let's talk about 10 of them here. Number 10. Starting off at number 10 is a movie I didn't think was going to be on my top 10 worst list of 2018. Solo: A Star Wars Story. I know I did a fun thing with my spoiler video. I wasn't trying to ride the line. I was trying to make a point. But other point being, I don't like this movie. And I've met people who are like, if you don't see it as a Star Wars movie, as a space smuggler movie, it's pretty fun. I disagree. I think it's a space smuggler movie. It sucks. I think it's a Star Wars movie. It sucks. You just look at the character of Han Solo. His arc in this movie is exactly the same as his arc in A New Hope. A smuggler with a heart of gold is trying to pass himself off as, no, I don't have a heart of gold. I'm hardcore. And by the end, he shows he has a heart of gold by helping the rebellion. Same thing. So other than that redundancy, the entire movie has a messy ass plot. So they rely on, hey, Easter eggs, remember? I remember, to carry the movie. I would say I don't blame the movie for having a messy ass plot because it had two different directors. If I didn't blame the studio for doing that shit. Solo: A Star Wars Story, it's the movie that just changed my perspective on all of it. I was there going, Disney Star Wars, yeah, Disney's gonna bring it back. And there were some Ebenezer ass naysayers online who were like, nah, they're gonna fuck it into the dirt. And I was like, shame on you. No, they're not. Oh, yeah. Maybe they are. Maybe it's good background noise. I don't know. All I know is it changed my perspective. A movie that does that is either great or horrible. And it's not great. So here we are. Number 9. Next up, we have Pacific Rim Uprising. Pacific Rim Uprising was such a disappointment, especially because Pacific Rim is so rad. It was such a surprise. This movie lacked any of the fun the original Pacific Rim had. The end throwdown was okay. I didn't hate it. Everything leading up to that, I generally hated. But even the best of the fighting in this movie showed that it lacked what Guillermo del Toro brought to the original movie. And there's this weird plot twist device with Charlie Day. Well, man, I was out at that point. No more. Go join Independence Day Resurgence on the not my Blu-ray shelf. Number 8. Next up, we have Winchester, again with a movie with an interesting concept that just the payoff was shit. Not only was it shit in this movie, it was boring. This movie tried to be a horror movie with brains. Even had people with good acting chops behind it, but they couldn't have saved this. It's as simple as predictable ass scares with pacing that went on to a crawl. Movies like Ambien, the horror movie. Like to see a documentary about the Winchester Mansion? That'd be cool. Don't want to see this movie again. It's just a fact. Number 7. Next up, we have A Wrinkle in Time. This movie had a great trailer. I'll say that. The movie itself didn't have great anything. This movie is a boring, bland, forgettable, colorful road trip movie. And by road trip, I mean they're going to different worlds. But they're stopping off going, this is nice, let's go to the next one. And the movie was completely messy. The movie was completely sloppy. And at a point in the third act, the acting... oh man. Like I said in my review, we're dealing with child actors. I don't want to be too harsh here, but does no one give a shit? Were there no auditions? Like everybody behind this movie was like, we care so much about this movie, but none of that care came across on screen. Just came across as a really rushed Hallmark movie with a bigger budget. Number 6. I'll give Cloverfield Paradox this. Brilliant marketing strategy. The only marketing this movie had was a Super Bowl ad. You're gonna reach a lot of people that way. And you release it that night, that was actually really neat. I hadn't seen anything like that. Then I watched it that night and I was like, maybe this is why. There's only movies that'll make a gamble like that are movies that have nothing to lose. Much like how Solo: A Star Wars Story killed my perception as to where Star Wars could be going, Cloverfield Paradox killed my perception of what the Cloverfield name brand was. The Cloverfield movies are movies that don't get a lot of traction, but studios need people to watch them, of course, so they stamp the name Cloverfield onto the title and maybe more people will watch it. This movie actually does tie into Cloverfield by the end, but everything that ties into Cloverfield just felt like an afterthought. It's like the people who made this movie thought weird shit happening equals good sci-fi. And that is just not the case. I walked out going, that's what people mean when they say they don't like sci-fi. What they mean is I don't like bad sci-fi, like Cloverfield Paradox. Number 5. Next up is The Nun. The Nun is just stupid. Which is funny because the Nun characters kind of become some weird icon in modern day horror. Not like, I don't think my dad'll know what it is, but most people who watch movies, definitely horror movies, know what the Nun is. So this is the Nun origin story. Again, it's like they're like, that'll work. That'll be enough. And it's just not enough. It's another movie that's relying on the fact that this is going to tie in to a franchise that people like. So there are references and Easter eggs that you might notice. It's like Where's Waldo? Where's Waldo doesn't have a good plot. It's just finding things. You ever find Waldo's shoe in a Where's Waldo book and be like, great second act to that story. The foreshadowing was blatantly obvious and the jump scares were abundant. Like I said in my review, I think this is the best way I can phrase it, so I'm gonna say it again here. Everything you've seen done in The Nun was done better in other horror movies.
Number 4.
Next up, we have Action Point. The only thing worse than bad horror is bad comedy, or they're at least on par. Action Point was Johnny Knoxville doing his jackass stunts. By stunts, I mean really just falling off shit and hurting himself. But now it's in a narrative, it's in a plot, it's in a movie. Not hidden cameras pranking people or anything like that. I guess it's a true story. And that's what makes this all the more tragic. If this is a true story, it's probably interesting, with a better screenwriter, a better script. As it stands, it's Johnny Knoxville hanging out with Chris Pontius in a bad movie. This movie's about a crickety-ass rust bucket theme park and a disaster of a person who wants to save it. With a lot of falling, pain, disaster. I should have had a blast. But I was checking my watch. I just wanted the pain to end. I would have rather gone to the fucking doctor.
Number 3.
Next up, we have 50 Shades Freed. This probably could be number 1. In fact, 3, 2, and 1 could all be number 1. But I don't want to give this number 1. I don't want this to get a gold medal for anything. Even for being bad, I need it to settle for the bronze. I want it to be so bad when people list off, these are the number 1 shitty movies that Jeremy's ever done for the past 10 years. I don't want this to be a part of the conversation. But I'm happy it's over now. I'm happy I don't have to watch any more of these fucking things. This wasn't as bad as the second one. There is that, but still. It suffers from the same shit. This feels like Twilight fanfiction because it is in fact Twilight fanfiction. You're not buying these two. Get out of town. Who's rooting for them? It's over now, so that's good.
Number 2.
Next, The Strangers Pray at Night. Remember what I was saying about bad horror? Which is a bummer because the original Strangers was actually pretty cool. But this movie, everyone's stupid. From the get-go, you're like, things are getting weird and shady. Just leave this place. Is there a video on the internet right now, like how The Strangers Pray at Night should have ended? Where they just show up, they're like, nope. They get back in their car and they just drive off. The end. That could totally happen in this movie, and it should have happened in this movie. Was this one of those January movies? I forget when this movie even came out. It feels like a January movie. Classic sequelitis. First one was neat, so they gotta make a sequel, and it just really kind of betrays everything the first one did.
Number 1.
So here it is, number 1. This is the number 1 movie. This is the movie I walked out of a little earlier than it ended, admittedly. And that's Nutcracker in the Four Realms. When it wrapped up, like she gets back, I was like, okay, gonna beat traffic. Let's go. So I don't actually know what happened at the very, very, very end of this movie, but I'm also really confident nothing happened that brought this movie out of the grave for me. I didn't like anything about this. Everything about it was just bad. I like the main girl, so I think she has a bright future. Maybe one day she can be the next Helen Mirren, who will be in a shitty disaster like this. The Nutcracker, the title character, completely forgettable. Keira Knightley, what voice is that? What was she doing? It came across as 99-cent Narnia. Those Narnia movies stopped happening. Why would you take a franchise that stopped happening as your inspiration? I don't know if they did, but it really looks like they did. I get the big thing right now is to go into new directions with pre-existing properties, or plays, or musicals. But if you're gonna go in a new direction, at least have a concept that this new direction is gonna be good at all. I refuse to believe in the pitch room they were like, this is gonna be better than a Nutcracker movie that actually follows Nutcracker that we might be able to actually do. I don't know. I hated this movie. And it's such an anticlimactic ending to this video. It's nothing huge, nothing bold, nothing crazy. It's just Nutcracker in the Four Realms. Oh, that's the worst. Oh, okay. Bye. Yeah, it's the best I got. It's just the movie I hated most this year. In any case, that's the tip of the pyramid. The top tier dog shit of 2018. But I hope you all had a great year. Like, this is the final video of 2018. 2018. It's a weird fucking year. It just was, wasn't it? Just kind of crazy. And I hope you had a good Christmas or Hanukkah or Dick in a Box, whatever you're celebrating. And I hope you have a very happy and safe new year. And most importantly, thank you for another year of coming to my channel, hanging out with me, digitally of course, to listen to me prattle on and yammer on about movies and things I like. So just thanks for a fun year. Looking forward to 2019. And of course, I'm looking forward to reading your top 10 list of the top 10 worst movies of 2018 for you. So whatever they are, whatever you think, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.